You know what? I cannot. Oh, fuck. I just fucked up. I don't want to be the cold open.
And this is Gaytriarchs.
Gabe and my kids are arguing in the car a lot, which I'm sure you've been through. They are just nonstop grabbing shit from each other, fighting, yelling at each other, and I'm saying, "Shut the fuck up!" I'm doing all the things. It's all happening. But I like to think I'm an original dad. I don't say cliche things. And then we were at a stoplight,
already,
and we were on the way to Pride, to our local Pride event, and they were at such fucking peak assholery that I slammed on the brakes. I whipped my head around and I said, I will turn this car around if you don't stop arguing. And in that moment, I gasped and looked at my husband, who looked at me with a face of shock. And we both were like, oh no, it happened.
It happened. Yeah.
It happened.
Yeah. Did you laugh in the moment? Did Brian laugh? Or
luckily that moment with him was like a release of the tension in the car, because I had fucking had to give it. Like my kids, I think because they were younger, they would like maybe whine a little bit at each other, but mostly they didn't give a fuck. Now it's like they sit in those seats and it's like, here we go. Let's get mad about shit that doesn't fucking matter. Let's argue over a toy that is a broken piece of plastic you guys have never fucking touched until they sit in those seats.
And if you just kept your mouth closed, I know, foreign concept, does it escalate to blood and tears, or just whining and maybe a tear? But who cares? Just shut up, drive, and just try to block it out.
I mean, I remember when they were little, when they were babies, and they were like crying like that, I would just turn the music up as loud as I possibly could get. I was like, I can't hear you right now. But no, it's like, don't do it. Like that kind of shit. And we've talked about this before. Like, it's only my problem. It's only my problem because I'm ingesting it. But I ingested it.
That's hilarious. Now, what was their reaction to your nuclear threat of turning this car around? I mean, at that point, you have to be careful what you're threatening, because my kids would be like, sweet, we don't want to go to the stupid Pride Parade anyway. We're woke AF anyway. We don't care. We don't want to go to this obligation where you kind of watch some sad drag queens and a couple of families, and we don't care about the families because, frankly, they're just families. Who cares? We're not in this fight to win it. So...
yeah, luckily it was the first time I had ever threatened that, so it had some impact. But you're right, like
it won't ever again.
No, that's what I mean. Is like they were like, well, nothing happened, and also exactly. Pride was actually great. We went to North Jersey Pride, which is in Maplewood, New Jersey, and it is so fun. And what I love about it is that it's I don't say it's kid focused, but it's so well attended by families that they've built this like kid zone on the side, which has grown and grown and grown. And they have a foam party and multiple giant inflatables, and like everything is very kid focused, which is lovely. Listen, there's a lot of straight families there too. Which, we love our allies, but it does dilute the stock a little bit. But no, it's a lovely time. But and they have a good time because they get a bunch of free shit. I turn into a yes dad. They're like, can I have it? I'm like, yes. Just yes, because
it feels so good.
Yeah,
but with their simple needs of what do you mean? Just more ice cream, or you're not like buying them? I don't know, entire wardrobes or something.
Well, there's nothing to buy there except for like inflatable bats. Like, why do you want this? And they're like, I need this. And you're like,
oh, but do you say yes to the inflatable bats? That's
I say yes to everything. Yeah, and things like that. It's like there's nothing they can add. They're not asking for Nintendo Switches at these events. Right. You know what I mean? So I say yes to ice cream, and like mealtime. Whatever, you had a pretzel 2 hours ago and a bucket of ice cream. You're good.
Right. In stark contrast to that, I had an interesting weekend this weekend because as you might know, I am a man of a certain age. Mm-hmm. And many of my dear friends are becoming men and women of certain ages as well. Mm-hmm. And just a couple of weeks ago, a friend of mine, my friend's wife texted me and said, hey, let's celebrate Paul's birthday. I want to go on a road trip to Cedar Point. And I'm like, what a great idea. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to have that weekend open, but I have kept this last weekend open the entire time, just in case. I did skip a couple of things, but nothing, no harm, no foul. And Guess what, David? You're going to be irate about this. Neither of my children wanted to go. So I drove for 9.5 hours from Connecticut to Ohio on my own. So many podcasts, so many phone calls. It was a spa time in my rented Toyota Corolla. And I got there 9.5. It was fantastic to just be completely on my own. And anyway, the point of this is entirely not to just make you insanely jealous that I rode a bunch of roller coasters this weekend, like any self-respecting 50-year-old man should do who's without his children or his partner. But you know where they're not celebrating Pride? Cedar Point, Ohio. I mean, the stark void of rainbows was actually fascinating to me. And boy, do I live in a bubble, because I just couldn't believe it. I mean, another couple of weekends ago, I was doing some traveling, and I posted on our feeds just how like United covered in rainbows, Southwest Airlines covered in rainbows. I mean, comparing airlines and amusement parks is kind of silly, but the point is, like, visibility was all over the place, right? There was no visibility, zero, absolutely none. I did ride my favorite roller coaster of all time, called now my new favorite, the Steel Vengeance. Absolutely astounding. And in, the little control area where somebody's like, a 17-year-old is theoretically paying attention to the lives.
Is in charge of the lives of like
of 36 strangers. People.
Yeah, exactly.
There was one little teeny tiny like handheld rainbow flag. And I waved to them and said, thank you. And they're like, you're welcome, old man. You're not going to die. And I'm like, I didn't have a way to convey that thank you for the visibility. But I mean, there were some, I saw one, what might have been a lesbian couple with a couple of kids, but the sheer stark, hey, here's my call. Gays, we need to go visit Cedar Point, and we need some visibility for those folks in Ohio, because wow, there was no color there.
I mean, I was wondering if you were going to kind of cosplay MAGA and just be like, what does it feel like to be MAGA? And just walk around and be like, yeah, so glad I don't see any rainbow flags around here.
Yeah, my shorts were too short, and my t-shirt was way too clever with its. There was no way I was cosplaying. Whatsoever.
No, everyone knew who you were. I'm realizing I'm looking at our outline, and we've already just told two dumb stories, and I'm about to tell a third. This is our pride pillar of love. And love really means sex to me, because I don't really love anybody. I'm just attracted to you, or I'm not attracted to you.
Yeah,
no, that's the same.
Yourself,
I'm attracted to myself.
Sex.
But I was doing my son's hair, and normally he doesn't want his hair done, right? And I do my daughter's hair, and so he's been kind of jealous. He's like, "Will you do my hair? Do my hair?" And I had one of these old man moments where you go, oh, I'm connecting me. Like the circle completes from me to these memories of my dad doing something that fucking annoyed the shit out of me. And what it is my son has blonde hair like me, and he looks so cute when it's kind of spiky and up and fun.
Sure.
But he just likes you to wear it flat to his forehead, like Sinead O'Connor in a late 80s music video.
I think of that as George Clooney in his Roman era.
Exactly. Our George Clooney look, exactly, like a blonde George Clooney look. It looks fucking horrible. He looks like Dumb and Dumber. He literally looks like Dumb and Dumber. Like that's his haircut. And I'm always begging him, please put your hair in a way that looks reasonable. And so the other day I was making his hair, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do it like this. And he just flattened it hair. And he was like, I like it better this way. I said, well, you look stupid. It looks better this way. And immediately went, oh, I didn't say stupid, but I was like, it doesn't look very good that way, but it's fine. My dad used to beg me to comb my hair to the side in that 1940s, handsome man sort of way.
You're looking at my hair right now.
Correct.
And thank you for at least giving me the handsome man part, but the 1940s, thanks. Right.
Yes. But he wanted, and I was like, that's an old timey style. I want it spiked up. I'm cool and young. You're old and irrelevant. Get out of my life. Right. And now the tables have turned, D'Artagnan, because he wants it his way. And I'm trying to revert back to a time that I think hair looked cool. So we're closing the loop on this episode, listener, of all the ways that we are old and irrelevant.
Well, Speaking of hair trends, actually, that makes me think about how we have found out that our son is definitely following a hair trend right now. My partner has found a bunch of videos because his feed is definitely influenced by our kids, and apparently there seems to be a trend of boys my son's age, so 12, 13, tweens and early teens, who have gone through several months or maybe a couple of years of having like broccoli top, like the big floofy at the front of their heads, and they're all buzzing them off, buzzing. And my partner has been like, oh my God, apparently this is quite a trend, that there's lots of these videos. So this weekend, my son, who has had, well, floofy hair, it didn't really look very good, I have to admit. But I'm like, well, this is an era where he's got creative hair. We're going to laugh about his school pictures for the rest of his life because all of these boys are going through this era. But this weekend, he buzzed it with a friend, and the mom did. And both Todd and I were like, must you do this? But I swore, and this is one of maybe the only principle I have held on to, is that I would not have hair wars with my children the way I had with my mom. Because my mom also, like your dad, wanted me to look like a conservative from the 1940s.
Correct.
And so, there were so many tears into middle school about my hair that I thought, this is just not worth it. It grows back, whatever. Let them make their mistakes, right? So anyway, he buzzed his hair. And while my partner very optimistically said, yeah, it looks like Timothée Chalamet. I'm like, what? Did you ever watch The Middle?
Yeah.
You know that show?
Yeah.
Well, my son now went from looking like a very dapper, striking 13-year-old with, crazy hair to looking like Brick, the young son. And while that actor is rolling in money like you and I will never imagine, money does not equal beauty, and he will be able to buy his beauty for the rest of his life. But now my son looks like Brick, and say what you will, but that's not a compliment.
Marla Hooch, what a hitter. Okay. Before we move on, I just want to tell our listener, we haven't told you this yet. We are doing a breakfast show right now. And what that means is it is 6:15 a.m. on Tuesday. And I
roll out of bed and Todd says, what?
Yeah,
guest
my husband
is waking up this early. I'm like, oh, no, you don't understand. Oh, so you don't listen to the podcast, do you? Because you don't realize that we do segments without guests.
So you and I are very busy. You're traveling a lot. I am working in the city right now, and we just don't have time to do this stupid fucking show. But you guys are such assholes when we don't record. So we've been doing as much as we can. But so we have our last bride pillar today. I'm interviewing our guest today by myself. Gavin is interviewing next week's guest by himself.
Spoiler. Doing some solo interviews because we don't want to leave you hanging, and we are committed to doing the show and bringing you mediocre content,
except for the first 2 weeks of July. We are taking those 2 weeks off. We have some things we have to do. So we are going to be back at you on July 15th. So next week's episode, we'll take a 2-week little mini hiatus so you guys can catch up on all the back episodes of the show. You guys can go to our website and sign up for things like coffee
Yes, exactly. Please go to our website. We do have a little buy us a coffee button eventually, though not at the very moment that we're recording this.
Oh,
but,
great.
In one of those just senses of, hey, you know what? Help us keep the lights on. Help us do a little bit more. Help us feel like we're actually not screaming into the void. But hey, we also started this just to basically scream into the void. But yes, please sign up for buying a coffee of $3 would be very helpful. And also subscribe and actually do those buttons that all of the other podcasters in the world seem to be much better at than we are. If you can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, that would be very, very helpful for all of the algorithms. That's what it is. It's just about helping the algorithms. So listener, we just want you to do all three of those things. Like and subscribe in 2 locations and maybe throw us 50 cents. That's what it comes down to.
And And like share the show on like if you love a clip of our show, will you share it on your stories and just say, hey, everyone, please listen to this show because we're making millions already. I think you guys know that. Gavin just bought his second plane, but we would like more millions. We want to be the we want to be the first trillionaire podcasters. So make that happen.
Even with that sarcasm, I want to make it very clear. We haven't made a dime, and we're not in this to make a dime.
No, we've never made a single dollar on this podcast.
We're absolutely in the red. In fact, David, you owe me for that orchid we got for Patrick a couple of weeks ago.
Put it on the list.
Maybe. But what it comes down to is we want to make a difference, and we want to get the podcast out there to more than just you, listener. Although you, listener, will always be
you are the listener.
Close. You are it. But
yes.
But hey, if we're doing this, there's darkness out there, and we want to bring some light to places like Cedar Point. Okay, so there you go. Moving forward, right? News of the week. You know what? There is no good news of the week, and I say that every week, but I actually mean it. There's no good news of the week. But I'm gonna pivot that just a teensy bit, and I will find a way to share. Although,
are you just going to provide 10 levels of context but not get to the point? What's happening?
Yes.
Come on, give us.
A couple of weeks ago, the New York Times had an article called The Magic of the Dad Text, and it is a very heartwarming story, mainly from adults talking about their older dads, like in their 70s and 80s, even older than me, and the way they tend to text. And usually it's my dad's such an idiot. He doesn't know how to use punctuation, or my dad is such a stickler, he uses punctuation. But a lot of it is also like my dad is an emotional handicap who actually shows no love except through text messages. It's all it definitely falls into the category of dads are idiots, but look at how sweet their texts are. Anyway, I'm going to share that a little more, and that can be your literal news because it comes from the Times of the week. That dad texts, gotta love them. But that's it. Other than that, the world's a dark place.
Awesome.
But our DILF of the week, David. I didn't put a link in there. You're going to go ahead and
I'm just Googling him right now.
Him. So you might have heard there used to be a really terrible leader in Hungary. Like,
oh my God.
Donald Trump-like leader, right? Absolutely horrendous leader. And he recently went down, and they were a little afraid that there was going to be such corruption in the elections that there wouldn't be an actual democratic takeover. But there was. A guy named Peter Magyar is now the prime minister of Hungary. And he actually used to be the same party of the former leader who was ousted. But luckily he has, seen the light or decided not to be an asshole. Anyway, he gave a speech in their, I guess, House of Commons or whatever you're going to call it in Budapest recently, where he was really lambasting a rival, saying, "You are so obsessed with the gays. Just stop it. Isn't it more important for people to have, for children to have a loving parent, regardless of who that person loves?" And that is actually what will be the foundation of the Hungarian, national state, is strong families with children who are loved, including by same-sex parents. He went on a rant that was the rant was just, stop it. Stop chasing unicorns, or rather stop chasing dragons, and stop demonizing gay people. This is just ridiculous and stupid. And so for that, that is not the reason he's the DILF of the week, right, David?
Correct, because these photos are fucking, oh my God. And you know what, Gavin? You and I feel like don't have exactly the same type, but similar. This is a perfect like Venn diagram right in the middle. This man is so fucking sexy.
Yeah,
in both
Peter Magyar,
all the ways. He's like blonde. He's got that like Air Force, works for the Air Force kind of vibe. Oh yeah, he is sexy. 45, love it.
Yeah, Peter Magyar, thank you for being on our DILF of the week. We can't wait to have you and your newfound spine on Gaytriarchs.
You know who is not sexy and I don't want to have sex with? I don't know. Our top 3 list.
Gaytriarchs top 3 list. 3, 2, 1.
This is your week.
Yes, this is our week. I want to know, what are your top 3 kids meal deals? Hopefully that was self-explanatory enough. Places that you can get really overprocessed but cheap food for your children, so that you can save a buck, so that you can give $3 to Gaytriarchs in the new button on our website that will hopefully be there by the time you are looking at it. David, can you remind our listener what a website is? Just kidding. We've done that joke before. Okay,
HTTP.
So I realize this might be a regionalism because not everybody has every single corporate restaurant out there, frankly. But I think these are pretty universal. Number 3 that we have used is Smashburger. On Wednesdays, kids, and I imagine that's 12 and under, kids can eat for free at Smashburger. Do you have Smashburger?
We do, yeah. I don't
Okay.
think I've seen the kids thing, but yeah.
Yeah. But that's kind of inconvenient. So that's why it's only number 3 is because it's on Wednesdays. But number 2, Moe's. Moe's burritos and tacos and whatnot, which is actually disgusting in comparison to Chipotle, I would say. Mm-hmm. But on Sundays, kids eat free. So then sometimes you're like, well, their salsa's fine. I can deal with it. It's fine. So Sundays, Moe's gives free meals to kids, and I'm very okay with that. Number 1, the classic, Denny's and IHOP. They don't do it all the time, but you just need to keep an eye on one of their signs and be like, oh, this is when the kids eat free. And it's frequent, and sometimes it's 3 nights a week, and sometimes it's 5 nights a week. It's very much a regionalism there, but Denny's and IHOP. But I will give a little shout out also to Applebee's, which apparently, this has made me giggle. They have a book club that if your kid reads 10 books, they can get a certificate for a free meal, which I'm like...
Are they trying to pull a Pizza Hut from the 90s? Because, bitch, we did book it. We had the button with the stickers on it. They've already done that.
I mean, the amount of cheating that you're instilling in children and their parents who are like, fucking just tell them you read like 10 books. It's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's... Basically, Applebee's is making children less honest, I have a feeling. But you can get a free meal with them when your kid lies about what 10 books they might have read recently.
Yes.
What about you?
All right. So I also saw the same Google results you did. I know Gabe did it because I literally, when I Googled it, I literally saw those. Like, I was like, as soon as Gabe started, I was like, I knew it. He's just going to choose the Google results. So
I actually do these though. These are my.
Mm-hmm. All right. So as I was looking at these same Google results that Gabe looked at, I realized that the ones I was choosing are not necessarily for the discount, but for a different reason. So I'll explain. And number 3, here's our crossover, IHOP. Now, listen, we have an IHOP by us. We frequent it. You kids eat free at night, I think, with kids.
Is it every night of the week? Or
I think it's at like
weekdays?
4 to 8 p.m. or something like that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. But here's why I like it. Because at IHOP, you can just be disgusting. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those restaurants where like you don't have to feign that my kids aren't going to destroy this place. They know. They're all dead on the inside there. So it's like you feel a little freer to be yourself.
Totally.
Number 2, Chipotle. Here's why. There's not really...
Chipotle?
Hold on. Wait.
Okay.
So let me explain. There's not really a kids deal.
Mm-hmm.
But what I like about the kids meals there is that A, they have apple juice as a choice for your drink, which I'm always like very anti-soda. So I'm glad I have that. But B, and this is what we've talked about on our, I think it was like hacks for airplanes. You get like a little tray and it has like lots of different compartments.
Yes. Yeah.
And that I feel like my kids are more willing to eat than if I buy them a burrito.
Yeah.
Like they
build your own tacos in Chipotle. You're exactly right. The DIY-ness of Chipotle
exactly
is great. Okay.
And number 1, I think this is really important. The best deal you can get on kids' meals. Don't order them anything. They're not going to eat it. Mm-hmm. And I mean that with my full throat.
Yeah.
Order yourself. Like when my husband and I will order like takeout, we will order ourselves a meal and maybe an appetizer, and that's it. And then we'll build their meals out of the whatever we have. Like, okay, we have rice and we have some, because inevitably they're not going to eat a lot of it. So why not order stuff that you like?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's an excellent dad hack of the week. So let's
kind of a hack.
Let's face it, that was a great hack you brought. Great. I mean, I've gotten to the point where my kids are too opinionated to have me choose for them. However, my son still hasn't hit any growth spurt, so he eats like a bird. So I recently, over spring break, for instance, I just didn't order any food for myself because I knew I was just going to finish him up, which makes me the human garbage disposal that I've been for the last 13 years. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, whatever. I don't I mean, we're not at a spectacular restaurant. This is not a Michelin-starred restaurant in Utah, so I'm just going to eat your leftovers. And he
I
at
do that
first
every
was
day.
offended by that, and I was like, whatever. It's
I mean, like, I feel like every dad listening is like, yeah, all I do is eat whatever the leftovers are.
Yes.
It is sad and also both very economical.
One of the times that I got my merit badge parenting is when the kids were in kindergarten or preschool, and I picked up their lunch from the day before, and I just mindlessly started eating their half-eaten ham sandwich. I mean, it was warm, and I had like 3 bites, and and I thought, wow, I have really hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
But
you're like, I'll tell this story on Gaytriarch someday.
And I just kept eating it. Like, I finished the sandwich with my dignity completely eradicated.
Oh,
so,
yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've driven to like the drop off my daughter at like preschool and just like mindlessly ate like the quarter bag of goldfish left over that had been poured out in the seat next to me, and I just kind of pop them in my mouth. I'm like, listen, this is how I'm getting through the day. All right, so next week, let's do our top 3 favorite 7 deadly sins.
When you put the word favorite in there, it makes it even more devious.
Okay, our guest this week is a repeat all the way back to episode 12. Ancient times, back when the world seemed less trashy, more hopeful. She is a sex and intimacy coach. She is the author of the book Radical Intimacy. She is a mom. She is a certified sexologist, a partner, a wife, an ex-wife, an all-around incredible human being that I am lucky enough to know. Please welcome back to the show one of our favorite guests, Zoë Kors.
Hi there. It's such a pleasure here.
It's so fun to see your face again. We were just chatting before we started recording about terrible bedtimes and how you can have 2 kids raised in the same house, the same everything. You're feeding them the same food, and somehow you get completely opposite children. And that's just what it is.
Sleeping and eating and potty stuff. Fortunately, the potty stuff was both my kids were stellar. I just didn't have any issues there, but
that's great.
One wouldn't eat anything and one would never sleep.
Boom. So fun. But before we get started, tell us, speaking of your children, how did they drive you nuts today?
They drove me nuts today because my son is now 19 and he goes out. This has become an annual tradition. They rent a big Airbnb in Palm Springs, a gorgeous, luxurious house, whatever that is. I think this one has a pickleball court. And, and then I don't hear from him. Then I don't hear from it, which is fine. Like, he's 19, he can go have his thing, but like, he's coming home today. I don't know if he's expecting me to have, our mom duties done with like shopping and all of that. So communication with a 19-year-old son is not always the best.
No, and it's so funny. Like, you go through these things as parents where you're like, you something happens to you, and you get taken back to when you were a kid and you did something and your parent would criticize you for or whatever, and you would just think, God, oh my God, Mom, oh my God, Dad, just fucking get over it, whatever it is. And now when you go on the other side, you're like, man, now I get it. Because I was just thinking, my mom, when I was an adult in my 20s and 30s, when I lived in New York City, far away from her, would always she'd always text me, like, please text me when you land. I want to know when you get home safely. And I'm like, Mom, I literally go a week without talking to you. Do you know the crazy shit I get up to while you're gone? And now I get it. She just wants those little checkpoints. And your same thing with like, just call me, tell me about the Airbnb. Just tell me about it.
Yeah, exactly. He's pretty good, I have to say. So he is empathetic enough to, like, when they got there, he texted me a photograph of the backyard of this amazing place, just to like, and that I have to sort of like, I want all the who's there and what are they like?
Yes. Give me all the tea. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to be happy with just that drop of tea. And
tiny little taste.
And knowing that he's safe.
Yeah. And that you will get what you want maybe months later around a dinner table after a few glasses
Yes.
of wine. You know what I mean? You'll get it. You'll get it, but it might just take a while.
In his time.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly, in his time. So, we Gavin and I thought about you immediately when we were thinking about our fourth pride pillar this month, which is love.
Mhm.
And love is something we use a lot in the gay community. We say love is love, but it's kind of we're kind of lying a little bit because we use it in a way to allow straight people or to tell straight people that we want to be allowed to do things like get married and live a normal life. So we use the word love instead of like sex and fucking. But I think it's important for us to talk about love in both ways because we as gay men and as humans really experience love in a lot of ways and the way pride is meant to kind of bolster.
Yeah.
But we also have sex. We're sexual beings, especially gay men who historically we like to fuck.
Well, yes. And historically, heterosexual couples don't like to fuck.
Well, yeah. And that's what I want to get into because I don't know if I know anybody more qualified to answer these questions than you. You are an author and you are a sexologist. I mean, you literally do this for a living. So I think it's important for our listener also to it was important when I started the show that I do a show from the gay dad's point of view that doesn't exclude the gay part of the gay dad.
Yeah.
And that part is often silenced in just kind of the world at large. And we all fall victim to it. We want to be a part of the straight making babies club. And so we kind of diminish that part of ourselves. One, because practically when you're a parent, there's just less time for all that stuff, but also to kind of fit in a little bit. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about, why don't we start with the sex part? Because that's the juicy part. I wanted to talk about your thoughts on being a parent and when you are in a long-term monogamous or not relationship and you're a parent and man, sometimes you just don't have time. And then that intimacy starts to wane in a relationship. I'm sure you'll deal with this a lot in your professional life. What are some like tips and tricks for dads who are like, I miss being a sexual person, but I feel like that part of me is dead because my whole life is filled with PTA duties?
Yes. Well, I think one of the things that I talk about a lot with all kinds of couples, same sex and hetero folks as well, is a sort of universal need to remember who we are outside of parenthood. And when you're in the trenches, especially in early childhood, when you're parenting small kids, it's so all consuming. And part of that is because we are not afforded big swaths of time without the kids. Either when they're in school, we're working. When they are asleep, we're exhausted and straightening up the house. I mean, there's just really how do you sort of accomplish the running of a household and the raising of the kids and financing the whole shebang and having downtime? And I get a lot of pushback when I tell people, like, look, you need to actually schedule sex. So scheduling sex is one part of it, but really the foundation of the whole thing is giving yourself permission to be a human being, a grown ass human being who is sexual, and sex is not really optional. It's part of our essential needs. And if you look at like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's at the very base, along with food, safety, shelter. Like sex is there. We need to have sex, and that's by design because we need to keep the human race going.
Yeah.
We actually have to procreate or we're all extinct. If we all stopped having sex, we would not have kids in, about 100 years. We would not exist, rather, in about 100 years. So there is this drive, to have sex.
Yeah. And I think also going back to your previous point about how, you're in the trenches and you're kind of, drowning a little bit and how you can lose your sexual self then. Also, what always would infuriate me was parents who were kind of out of the trenches who would say things, and I think well-meaning, but they would say things like, just let your house be dirty, ignore the laundry because this time is very short. And I'm like, I hear you say that in a romantic Hallmark card sort of way, but I have to go to work and I need a shirt to wear to work. There is some basic, like, sure, I can let toys stay on the ground longer than normal, but like there is a practical aspect to the fact that I have shit to do, and not just I want my house to be spick and span. I just have to be able to open the door to get outside, and there's 25 boxes in front of the door. So do I just ignore those? So anyway, that when you were saying that, I was like, again, it's very well meaning, because what they mean is like, don't put too importance on the cleanliness of a house when you have young kids or whatever. But there is a practical aspect. And I think what happens is in that infancy, you're so drowning, and I'm just out of this now, but you're so drowning that everything is for the baby and everything is to keep the house afloat. And then when you're no longer drowning, you kind of have to be tapped on the shoulder and told, oh, hey, you're not drowning. You're fine. You can actually go schedule sex with your husband. I feel that way sometimes. I'll every once in a while be like, oh, we don't need to rush home. The kids can go to bed a little bit later. They're older. They're fine. But I'm such a slave to, if we don't get to bed at 7:00, tomorrow is ruined. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there is something really valuable also about keeping your house clean and organized.
Yes.
Even in terms of, yes, I had the same thought, like, where are my clothes for work? Or, I've got to get the kids dressed for school, not in soiled clothing, or I need all this time to brush, my kids' hair, or to make sure they're clean, or whatever.
Or it's wacky hair day at school today, so I've got to get the wacky hairspray. That was today. Wacky.
And then soccer or t-ball, or we need the uniform. And the uniform, I was famous for putting the dirty, baseball pants in the hamper and not having enough. And then, okay, I'll buy 3 pairs of baseball pants, and then there are 3 pairs of baseball pants in the laundry, right? Like, there is a certain amount of, if there's enough chaos, then that is overwhelming in and of itself, and that's not good for your nervous system. And when you come to having sex, then you've got, that's a whole other issue, an obstacle to having sex.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's a little bit more poignant than others,
Yeah. So you recommend for maybe dads who, or really any parents who feel like they've kind of lost their sexual kind of connection with their partner, but also just their sexual drive, scheduling sex is a recommendation. What else would you recommend to somebody who feels like, I don't know if that part of me is still there?
Yeah, I'm here to tell you that part of yourself is still there. And part of the malaise that parents feel is that feeling, and probably it at least for my gay male clients, like, that's a big loss.
Yeah,
because
it's a huge part of gay men's identity. I mean, like, all kidding aside, like that is a large part of our lives. Yeah,
enviably so on my part. I love the permission that gay men generally have given themselves to be able to be vibrant. Listen, from the world I come from, sex is it's not optional. It's actually, you're going to hear my sort of sacred sexuality, spirituality in here. I promise you, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool New Yorker. I'm very, I don't go for all that woo-woo shit, but, I say that, and I actually do. It is, having sex is life force energy. It brings us alive. It cultivates a certain vitality. It's people who have a satisfying sex life. And that doesn't mean necessarily having sex every day. It might mean having sex, really good, wonderful, nourishing, loving sex twice a month, but really making making the time and making that something that we do regularly cultivates a certain level of nervous system regulation, good health, good mental health, energy, vitality. Like that stuff is important.
Yeah.
We need to get outside. We need to move our bodies. We need to eat good food. We need to breathe clean air on a regular basis. We need fresh, good water. And we need to have sex.
Yeah. And you know what? Dan Savage always says, and I love this, he's very encouraging of broadening the definition of sex for, I think, that exact reason. Because I think some people go, I just don't have the energy for this big, whatever they define sex as, previously. But
Yeah.
like you said, maybe we make out in the fucking backseat of the car for 10 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Before we go inside to relieve the babysitter. Like there are broadening that definition of sex, I think, I love the way he describes that, because I think a lot of people have a very narrow definition of what sex is and isn't.
Yes, agreed. And I love Dan Savage. And so I think, this will lead into another piece of this. Even more than just making out, the possibility of making out, or and snuggling, like skin to skin contact. There are two pieces fighting their way out of my brain to my mouth. One is that, redefining what sex is. Sex can be, mutual masturbation. You can lie next to each other and masturbate yourself, or you can do that and one of you can kind of assist. It may be that it isn't necessarily the full range of what you might do when you're 25 and single and drunk and
in the back room of the Eagle. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
But there are beautiful ways of cultivating intimacy and connection and deep connection with each other in a tender moment that results in an orgasm,
Yeah.
or not. But that,
Sure.
Both the connection and the arousal cycle and orgasm. There are tons of disciplines like Taoism where, we talk about seminal retention and holding on to that life force and not wasting your seed and all of that. And depending on what you believe and how it lands in your own body, orgasm also can be therapeutic.
Yeah. I think also, as I'm hearing you talk, I think one thing that has benefited me sexually in my life is surrounding myself with friends who are sex positive in the way I am, who feel the same way. They are open to talking about it. They're not ashamed of having sex at whatever age they are, or gender or sexuality, because I think that can sometimes be a much farther part of this, but still, like, having open, frank discussions with friends about sex, even like, the teenage style where you're giggling about big dicks or whatever it is. I think there is something wonderful about that, and maintaining a circle of friends around you who feel the same way about you. Because I have been around gay men who treat sex like this, like, oh God, why? No, that's something. No, that's another time. We're parents now. And I'm like, you're not my people. Sorry. I just like that. This is not good.
It's so true. And so that's part of that identity of, like, I am a parent and I'm sexy. And, I do a lot of work with women in midlife, and mostly cis women in midlife. And, I think that's a big part of that conversation of, like, can I be, the Madonna and the whore? Like, can I be a mother and also sexual? Or is that, you're either slutty or you're, virginal?
Am I the only person who thought for a good 5 years that when I heard Madonna whore complex, they were talking about Madonna, and that Madonna is a whore and you have a complex because you like Madonna as a whore? I literally did not know that they were referring to a totally different thing that was Madonna, not Madonna. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but, like, I literally for years I was like, I don't understand. I think people like that Madonna's kind of a whore. I don't understand what the complex is here. No.
I think it's actually ironic because it is her given name. She didn't even that's not just her brand that she developed. She came by it organically.
Yeah.
It's ironic that the most sex positive, sexualized rock star we have, or pop star we have, is named Madonna. Like, how satisfying is that?
I mean, yeah, she couldn't have planned it with a marketing team better than she had already done that. So I think also what I wanted to talk to you about, I mean, I could literally talk to you for hours because I think you're such a rich, you just have so much information, and you're such a great person to talk to. But I want to talk a little bit also about how to raise sex positive children in a age appropriate way, in an age appropriate environment, because I wasn't not raised sex positive, but in the 90s, like, sex was like a hush hush behind the scenes thing. We don't talk about it. They're certainly not gay sex. And I want to raise my kids in a sex positive way, but also to respect it and to be age appropriate. And I'm curious if you have any sort of advice for dads.
I do for sure. There are so many beautiful ways to introduce sexuality, and especially if you're if you're two gay dads, it's such an opportunity. I mean, you're going to be forced, I would imagine, to some extent, to talk about just the constellation that you're living in. And depending on where you live in the country and what your sort of milieu and culture is, your kids are going to be asked questions. So it's really a beautiful opportunity to give them the answers that they can sort of use
I think they definitely, my kids are 6 and 4, and so my older kid definitely has asked a couple of times about kind of how he was made, and we've always been very honest and age appropriate, but it does leave out the idea of sex for pleasure, or what sex, we said, we need a sperm, right? And we got a sperm from daddy and we got an egg from a donor. We put them together. They went in Aaron's belly, and then they grew, and then out you came. And he's like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, I get where things are, and I get that sperm is in my testicles or whatever. But at his age, sex for pleasure is that's not a conversation topic. So it's like a weird line as a gay man, because yes, like, we are kind of forced to be out as far as like how sex works, but it's not quite there.
And you're forced in that way, and then the love component is just like everybody else.
Correct. The love is like, we hold hands, we kiss together, like they get it. We are a romantic couple, and that's how that looks like. Yeah.
Yes, and this is all about loving union, and we love each other so much that we wanted to have babies, to have a loving, to spread our love and create a pod.
But you were not made in that sex party in Provincetown. That was not you. That is not how you came to be. That is just
God, the world would be a better place if all those sex parties in Provincetown led to kids.
Oh, I fully disagree. The amount of just unwed mothers there would be in the world who are just walking around with children inside of them. Oh my gosh. It would, I am curious if that is part, I mean, I think there's a male component here of why gay men have so much sex. It's 2 men. So it's like a multiplication situation. But also I think that there's zero fear of pregnancy. So there's a little bit less of if you go into sex kind of worried and conservative, it's less of an enjoyable experience. So I am curious if we could get pregnant, if we would be as adventurous as we are.
Okay, fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about,
Provincetown.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Well, here's what I really, in my worldview, in my domain, what I would love to see is all kinds of parents, every parent having their kids be very in touch with their bodies and very in touch with what brings them pleasure, physical pleasure, and sensation in general. I mean, you can't have pleasure without some degree of pain, right? And sometimes pain is pleasureful. It's just all a spectrum of sensation. So I really encourage, I encourage adults who are trying to heal their connection to their own bodies, and get more embodied in their sexuality to do this. And I encourage them to include the kids, which is this: heightened sensual awareness. Go out on walks in nature, have the five senses, and you can start when your kids are teeny. What is something fun? Okay, now we're going to find something that we love to look at, that we find beautiful, that brings us pleasure visually. Go find something. And some kids will bring it, or some people will find an acorn, and some will find a tree, or I'm looking at my own, fingernail polish that mommy put on me yesterday, or daddy put on me yesterday, or, and then there's, a sound, or a cook dinner together. And as you're cooking dinner together, really savor the experience, the sensual experience, mixing cookie dough. This is really, this is stiff, but look what happens when we put another egg in. It gets all like looser over here. And then till it gets where, just focus on all of the sensual experiences, and in a non-sexual way. And this is one of the things that was trying to fight its way out of my brain, out my mouth, earlier, about scheduling sex. The other piece of it is that we need lots of non-sexual touch.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot go, I'm echoing backwards. I will come back around to kids, but and raising sex positive kids. But when you are trying to reconnect to your sexuality, you need to have a whole array, a repertoire of non-sexual, sensual experiences. Hugging. I have some homework or some exercises and tools to try that I want to remember to get to. But encouraging those experiences as well in your kids, so that they feel rooted in their bodies. I'm going to tell a story of me at 3 years old masturbating all the time.
Okay, we're listening.
Yeah, and my mom asked my pediatrician, so I'm 62. I was born in 64. So this is 1967. She asked my pediatrician, who was luckily progressive enough. She said, what do I do with this? Is it okay? Do I need to do anything? And he said, do not tell her to stop. Do not shame her in any way, shape, or form. Just let her know that when she does that, that everybody does it, and we go to the privacy of our own room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that in and of itself it's not so much what that did, it's what it didn't do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I felt free in having that experience. And for me, and for 3-year-old isn't really going to have an orgasm at that age. The whole nervous system isn't developed enough to go the complete arc of arousal that leads to climax. But it felt really good, and it became almost like a meditation, in that it was an altering of consciousness that was rooted in my nervous system. So what I didn't know is, when you look at Ayurvedic medicine or yoga or Tantra, what I was doing actually was activating my root and sacral chakra to be able to generate this energy that then was distributed through my body in a way that alters consciousness. The same way that it feels like you're walking on the moon when you're getting close to orgasm, or that kind of a response. So I became really familiar with that feeling in my body. Now, parents are so worried about the creating an obsession or a compulsive behavior. When left to their own devices, kids generally aren't struggling with that. And it is really far more damaging to shut that all down and make it complicated and filled with shame. And I shouldn't do this, or I should only do it a little. Just let it go. Let it go. It will run its course. I am more concerned with raising sex positive kids in the age of technology, where porn is free and available constantly. And look, my son is 19. I have a much easier time talking to my daughter about it, and we've communicated consistently throughout her life. My son doesn't really want to have those conversations with his mother. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't have those conversations with his father, and his father can't have those conversations with anybody.
Yeah.
So it's
and it's also hard, especially if your kids are younger. Like, let's say that, like, I remember first looking at or finding porn at like 13 or whatever. You can't really comprehend that these are actors, if it's consensual or not, that this is kind of like, this is make believe. This is maybe not exactly what real sex looks like. This is not what real bodies look like. Like, it's hard to really understand that without maybe somebody talking. What I also love about what your pediatrician did, and it's the thing that I think all good parents try, is to try to ride that balance of not shaming their children and allowing your children to kind of be fully who they are, whatever that is, but still within reasonable confines of kind of how society works. And yes, you cannot pull your penis out and masturbate on the bus stop. We can't do that. And it's not meant to shame you, but you can't do that. Daddy got in trouble for that in high school, and we can't do that anymore. But I love what the pediatrician said. Our pediatrician said something similar, where it's like, you don't shame them, but you tell them, like, when you want to do that, great, wonderful. You go to your room and you can do that, and whatever. So I think that is is it a tough line to ride as a parent? But I love that even in 1967, there was somebody
Thank
fighting
God.
a good fight. Yeah.
I mean, I'm impressed in hindsight, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing that I think is really important is, and by the way, I think I hear you saying, like, you actually do have those conversations. And the more that you can have those conversations, it feels like a hard line, but it's actually, I think it's fine to talk about what's okay in private and what's okay in public. Like, I think that's kind of general in many aspects. And you can find things that we don't. You can pick your nose in the bathroom. You can pick your nose in your room. Don't pick your nose in public.
Yeah, I think shame has, like, going into parenting, that was that was my battle flag. It was like, I'm going to remove as much, growing up as a gay man in the South, like it's all about shame. So I was like, okay, that's going to be my change in the world, is like, I'm going to raise him without shame. But I quickly realized, like, there are some things that I have to say no to that may be heard as shameful. And so trying to make sure that the way I say that, and that's the same way about, him wanting to wear a dress to school, and to be able to say, absolutely, you can wear a dress to school. Know that you will probably get made fun of, because most boys don't wear dresses, but that doesn't matter. But know that that's coming, and
that's exactly right.
Yeah, and making sure that he is walking into these situations with a realistic understanding of the world, while also being supportive of who he is. And this is all getting very, heady and serious, but like, that's it. I fucking think about this shit all the time, because we're all trying to be great parents, and we're all failing in one way or the other.
Yeah. And this might be heady. But it doesn't feel heady to me at all. This is real stuff.
Well, our audience is used to dick jokes. So it's like, they're probably just going, wow, this is and why is David's solo interview so heady and thoughtful and helpful, when David's interview should be just talking about who has the biggest dick? But you're here, and you're such a a treasure trove, if you will, of information. And I know there are gay dads out there who really could use you. Where are you? Do you exist in the world? Where are you? Where can people find you? Where can they buy your book? Where can they hire you to do things? Tell me.
So my book is called Radical Intimacy. It's available anywhere you buy books. If you shop on Amazon, it's there. If you shop on Barnes and Noble or Bookshop, or, it's in libraries, they'll order it for you. It's out there. It's actually called Radical Intimacy: Cultivate the Deeply Connected Relationships You Desire and Deserve. So that gives you an idea. And it covers basically 3 kinds of intimacy: emotional, physical, and energetic. And the 3 levels of intimacy: self, other, and world. And so there's a wealth of information there about how to be connected in an intimate way. Really feel that deep connection. My website is zoekors.com, and
Spell that for us.
ZOE, Z as in zebra, OEKORS as in Sam, which is like Michael Kors. People ask me if we're related all the time. I always say he's my cousin, but he's not.
Yeah, I mean, everyone listening to this, you have to go buy her book. You have to buy her book. She is so great. You are so great. But before you go, we're out of time. But before you go, I want you to tell us one of those parenting stories, one that you'll never forget. How did you earn your parenting merit badge?
Let's see. I went to a photo shoot. They were shooting Dark Shadows, a remake of Dark Shadows at the Greystone Castle in West Hollywood. Big set, tons of people around. I had my daughter at the time who was 2, and she wanted to be picked up, and I wasn't picking her up, and she's got her hands going, pick me up, and she's getting agitated, and I was just socializing and talking and networking, and she took my pants, and they had a elastic waistband, and she just yanked them down, and I didn't have actually, I think I had like a thong on at the time, but that came down with it. And and there I was, just bare-assed and front and back.
But to be fair, you're not the first person to be bare-assed in West Hollywood. I mean, that day, possibly that minute. I mean, let's be honest. But well, listen, did she get your attention?
She sure did.
So, point for her.
It worked. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Zoe, thank you so much for demeaning yourself by being on our stupid little podcast. Again, we love you.
I love you too.
So my something great this week is the club. And the club I'm referring to is the Morning Dads Club. I am the dad now who on Saturday mornings will go get bagels. Like early in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
We do bagels, we do that. And I've noticed that on the weekends, there is this early morning dads club. And wherever you go, whether it's the Home Depot or the grocery store or the bagel store or whatever, the CVS because somebody's sick, there's just other poorly dressed, exhausted dads also doing the same thing. And there's this weird fraternity, I feel, with these guys in their, New Balance sneakers with no socks and, t-shirt from the night before. And it just, I don't know. The other day I was feeling like very thankful for it. Weirdly, I was like, I don't know. I like being in this club. I like being one of these like morning dads. So my something great this week is the Morning Dads Club.
My something great this week is just food. And my algorithm is changing a little bit that I'm getting crazy. This is terrible. I'm sorry. I was like looking at my list. I'm like, did I really put this on something great? Oh, well, it's a dumpling cake. Is that stupid?
What is it?
I know.
I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's your something great.
Okay, fine. Listen, I'm going to lean into it. This is on my list. It's a dumpling cake, and I'm going to show you right now. It is, you take dumplings, like Chinese dumplings, and you
like
put
a casserole
them in a casserole.
Cake.
It's a casserole of dumplings, and you put rice on the side. You know what? I'm going to lean into it so that you don't have to edit this. My something great is the Contrarian Money feed of a dude who lines up dumplings in a casserole dish and just puts it in the oven.
Okay, that looks delicious, but cake is the wrong word. But it's called. It's a casserole.
It's called it's the one pan dumpling cake.
I hear you, and I'm denying it. It has been denied. It is being renamed to the dumpling casserole because that is what that is. You just said literally it goes in a casserole dish.
Oh my God, it's only 6:31 in the morning, and that is our show. If you have any comments, suggestions, or general compliments, you can email us at GaytriarchsPodcast@gmail.com. We need to rewrite this.
Or you can DM us on Instagram. We are at GaytriarchsPodcast. On the internet, David is at David FM Vaughn everywhere, and Gavin is at Gavin Lodge on What is a Cake?
Please leave us a glowing 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks, and we'll casserole with you next time on another episode of Gaytriarchs.